When I worked at the Bayou, we had, in those days it was very limited consoles available. We had the Altec 1220. When we did any kind of a show or any kind of a band, I wanted to give them the tools to make them sound as good as possible. And so everybody walked away with a real, memorable experience. And I'd always been fascinated with flanging. I thought it was really cool. And so I built the flanger and I built the doubler, and I had them set up so all you had to do is just flip a switch and then the master, and you could flip it in, and it would be, you'd have your voice double, or you could have the flanging and stuff. And I actually have it at home. And it was my first circuit board. I made it myself, etched it and everything, and it had a nice panel made. We got pictures of it. And we did Foreigner, first time they ever played in the club. They played at our club, and they used the stuff. Same with Dire Straits, first time they ever played, they was there. Pat Benatar, Molly Hatchet, Kiss, all these bands, and they all they're just fascinated by it. And it was basically just trying to make it sound like a record live, but still have the live effect, and it was great. It worked perfectly. And the doubler was, it was real interesting because I figured out a way to do real tight doubling by doing a way of canceling the flanging effect. So you could put it on a guitar or a voice, and it didn't sound like the typical double-picked 40 millisecond delay kind of delay thing. And so everybody used it. Mike DeLug, who was the engineer, and I found out a couple of days ago that Michael Brower was his assistant in those days. And they used it on the horns on Copacabana, and they used it on Engelbert Humperdinck's voice. And they thought it was really cool. And he asked me, he says, "Whatever happened to that box, And that was the beginning of it. But, and every year at all the trade shows, I'd always walk around and listen to everybody's choruses and all stuff. Nobody ever figured out how to do it. And I finally, now that the plug-in thing came around, I figured, well, I'll give it a shot. So I contacted the guys at Softube. VSO is a variable speed oscillator, and when you do flanging with a tape machine, you're basically taking, a sound and another sound, and you're slipping them past each other. So this is running at speed, and you slow this tape machine down, and you get to the, from 10 to 50 milliseconds, and then you start increasing the speed of the machine, and as it passes the 0 point and goes over, it actually has that, that kind of sound. There's two ways to do that. One was the later machines, you could do it with a variable speed oscillator because they had an oscillator running it. But the earlier machines, you varied the voltage into the capstan motor, and when you brought the voltage down a little bit, it would, there wasn't as much current, so the motor would start to drag a little, and you'd speed it up, and then the motor would increase. It had more current. So that's kind of the way you used to originally do it, and that's how a lot of those old records were done that way. So I tried with the flanger, I tried to emulate that as an option. So you have a VSO knob, and then you have the just manual functions that all the flangers have, with the sweep and mix and blend and the offset and all that. But there is a mode that you actually turn it to the right and it goes up, and then you have to pull it back to the left to slow it down. Just like flying an airplane, you turn it, you got to straighten it out, and then you got to turn it back and straighten it out. We also emulated the servo bounce of the servo, because when you change it real fast, the servo would try to correct itself, and you get this physical, hunting, and so it tapers off. So as it would cross over, it would go back and forth a few times, and that kind of stuff. So it has a real tape machine feel to it.